This is Ling, a child who lives with his parents and younger brother in a street crowded with half-humans and zombies, known as Raksasha. Incidentally, his father is the leader of this street, and his primary mission is to drive away the zombies and protect the people from them. On an ordinary day like any other, Ling woke up to find his parents absent from home. He assumed they had gone to fetch some supplies and would return shortly. The first day passed, then the second, then the third, and he was still waiting for them, but to no avail. Meanwhile, his younger brother, Yan, began to cry, appearing hungry. Ling tried to prepare some milk for him, but being young and inexperienced, the milk spilled and burned Yan's hand. Nevertheless, he endured the pain and finished preparing the milk to feed his brother. Ling continued to wait for his parents day after day, but the shocking truth was that they never returned. Over time, he began to lose hope, and due to his naivety, he decided to survive as best as he could. In desperation, he even considered feeding his brother from sheer hunger and despair. He did not realize that the food would eventually run out, and indeed, that is exactly what happened. Finding nothing to eat, he decided to wait a little longer, hoping his parents would come back. The next morning, he heard a sound in the yard. He rushed downstairs, thinking his parents had returned, but his disappointment was immense. The source of the sound was a stranger, who, upon seeing him, struck Ling powerfully in the face, knocking him to the ground and said, "From now on, I am the leader of this street instead of your father, and my name is Kato." Ling replied angrily, "You are a liar." Kato erupted in anger and unleashed his ability, Embodiment of Power, summoning a massive man named Saki. For those unaware, in this world, exceptional individuals can manifest their magical energy into a human-like entity called a guardian, and the stronger the magical energy, the mightier and more formidable the guardian. Kato ordered his guardian Saki to throw Ling off a high slope. Saki responded, "At your command." But as he grasped Ling, he felt a magical energy flowing through his body and informed Kato of it. Kato said, "Then, let him be. We will sell him instead of killing him." During their conversation, the sound of Yan's crying was heard. Kato commanded his guardian to bring him quickly as well, intending to sell him too, thereby doubling his profit. At that moment, Ling shouted, "No one touches my brother." Saki brought the child Yan but said, "He possesses no magical energy. He is worthless." Kato ordered him to leave the boy and then imprisoned Ling, saying before leaving, "I will return for you later." Kato took the child Yan and went down to the street residents, beating them as he declared himself their new leader. No one dared to oppose him or even speak. Meanwhile, Ling managed to escape and charged at Saki, forcefully retrieving his brother. Kato shouted, "How did you get out of confinement?" When he turned toward the house, he found it engulfed in flames. Here we understand that Ling, after reaching the end of his patience, had set fire to the confinement door and escaped. Kato tried to soothe him and said, "Come with me, and I will secure a happy life for you." But Ling did not hesitate for a moment. He leapt straight into a strange gate behind him, vanished in an instant, and was transported to the human world. There, he knew no one and found no place to sleep except beneath a bridge. He and his younger brother survived by stealing from a few shops to stifle their hunger, until the owner of one shop grew tired of them and sent a man named Ada to deal with the problem. When Ling saw this man, he said sharply, "Go away." But Ada replied calmly, "I did not come to harm you. I brought you some food, and I have an offer." Ling took the loaf of bread and asked, "What offer?" Ada said, "I can take you to an orphanage where you will eat, drink, and sleep for free." Ling refused, saying, "I will stay here and wait for my parents to return." Ada smiled and said, "Very well. If you ever change your mind, come to me." Then he left. After a while, hunger gnawed at Ling again. He rummaged through garbage for something to eat, but found only a small toy, which he gave to his little brother to cheer him. He returned to the streets, waiting for someone's pity, but no one cared. Dogs harassed him day and night. The world had closed its doors to him from every side, and his plight could move even stone to tears. Days passed, and Ling continued living on the streets with Yan as the seasons turned until winter came. Yan Furi fell gravely ill. Ling Oranomo took him to the hospital hoping for a cure. After the examinations, the doctor told him, "Your brother has a severe cold. If it is not treated quickly, he is at risk of dying. I can treat him in 10 minutes, but you have no money. Leave this place." Ling left shattered and sorrowful, his face a map of helplessness and pain, as if the weight of the whole world pressed upon him. A small child bearing burdens that even men could not endure. He had no choice but to turn to Atta, the man who had earlier offered help. Ling Di ran to him and begged, "Please take me to the home. Just treat my brother. Ada agreed at once and took him to the place he had claimed was an orphanage. There, Lingri was given a warm bath and delicious food and began to relax a little after long days of misery. But suddenly he noticed his brother Jan missing. He searched the place everywhere until he overheard Ada speaking with a strange man. "Where is the money?" Ada asked. The man replied, "I am still looking for a family to buy the older child. As for the younger one, he is sick, so I threw him in the garbage." What horror! Ada was selling children to other families for money, and everything he had said about an orphanage was a wicked lie. Ling heard it all. His face trembled with shock as he asked, "Is what I heard true?" Ada answered coldly, "Yes." Then he grabbed Ling Sao roughly by the head, bound him, and ordered 2 men to beat him with belts. Ling Sao took the painful blows without being able to defend himself, left exhausted and bleeding. Meanwhile, Yan lay in the garbage under the bitter cold, breathing with difficulty, as if life were slipping away from him. When Ling learned this, he broke down crying and shouted, "I will not lose my brother!" In a moment of fury and despair, a strange light flared in his eyes. The men tried to strike him, but suddenly the lights went out, then came back on, and in a single flash the man's body froze in place, unable to move. Then the great surprise occurred. Ling had activated his embodiment of power for the first time and released his personal guardian. Astonishment filled the place. The man and his wife cried out, "Please do not kill us." Ling replied in a cold, resolute voice, "If I see you again, I will show you no mercy." Then he left the place, heading toward the shop where Ada was counting his money. Ling commanded his guardian to strike him. The guardian threw him against the wall with tremendous force, and then Ling took all the money from him after extracting the location of his brother. He dashed swiftly to where Yan had been left, found him unconscious, lifted him in his arms, and rushed to the hospital. He broke down the door violently and shouted, "I brought the money! Treat him quickly." The doctor recoiled at his appearance and hurriedly administered all the necessary medications to the child. At that moment, Ling turned to the guardian and asked, "What is your name?" The guardian replied in a majestic voice, "My name is Eugene, and from this day onward, I will obey all your commands." 4 years passed after these events. Ling and Yan grew older, and their lives became relatively more stable. They still lived under the bridge, but they had renovated it, making it warmer. Often they roamed the city with Eugene, stopping bullies and protecting the weak. One day, Ling sat with his brother talking about their old home. Yan said, "I wish I could go back and see it, but I have no magical energy, and I cannot enter the street Rekshasha." Ling smiled and said, "Do not worry, I will take you in as I took you out before, using my power." Yan rejoiced greatly and thanked his brother warmly. The two of them rushed toward the street gate and entered without difficulty, surveying the place with nostalgia and calm. Suddenly, without warning, a giant zombie appeared, smashing the gates and seizing a small girl, almost killing her. Yan rushed forward with courage to distract the zombie, but the monster attacked him directly. Fortunately, Ling summoned Eugene, who stopped the zombie's assault. Ling then grabbed his brother and scolded him, saying, "How can you be so reckless? How do you expose yourself to danger?" Then he added, "Yet in that moment, your action was the right one." Ling joined Eugene in the fight, but the zombie struck him and threw him away. Eugene caught him, attacked again, and the three entered a fierce battle. Eugene executed a legendary move, lifting the zombie high into the air. Then Ling struck it in the open area, ending the threat there. The street residents watched in astonishment, unable to believe how a child of his age could defeat a zombie with such strength. News of the event reached Kato, and the shock was immense when it became clear that the vile Kato had unleashed the zombies and ordered them to attack the residents merely for his amusement, out of boredom. He also commanded them to search for the 2 children and bring them in as quickly as possible. The zombies attacked the residents, demanding to know the children's location, but no one knew. Fear gripped their hearts, and some people even turned into zombies due to hysteria and loss of control. Meanwhile, Ling and Yan decided to return to the human world, as the situation had become extremely dangerous. Suddenly, Kato appeared before them. Ling ordered his brother to hide and summoned Kato's guardian Saki, who attacked Eugene with rapid strikes and drove him back, finally delivering a devastating blow that left Eugene injured on the ground. Kato approached Ling, grabbed him by his clothes and said, "I have received news of a dangerous criminal. This is the one who killed your parents." Hearing these words, Ling was struck by intense pain as all his memories resurfaced. He screamed from the anguish of loss and remembrance. Kato seized him and sold him to that person, then sent his guardian to search for the young child Yan, for it was impossible that he had left the street without possessing magical energy. On the other side, we saw him hidden with a girl who belonged to a species called Bach, unable to speak. Our hero was sent to an island called the Island of Death to be trained there. The commander told them everything about the place, saying that all the inhabitants there are children tortured to improve their skills, and that anyone who reaches 18 without progress has their memory erased and is sent back to the human world. Ling Chi understood the situation quickly, plunged into the water alone, and nearly drowned because he could not swim. The commander seized him and said, "Get out of here, brother. The sea around this island is mysterious and bound by magical spells, and even the most expert swimmers may not survive it." Afterward, Ling walked a little and suddenly found himself surrounded by a group of bullies. He tried to activate his skill and summon his guardian, but he could not, because embodiment of power is forbidden here. The bullies seized him and began to beat him when a child named Chan arrived and saved the moment, driving the bullies off. When the bullies attempted to attack again, Chan exploded with anger. A terrifying aura spread and they fled in terror. Ling Bak asked him, "What made you come in here?" Chan replied, "All I wanted was to help you, and I have a way to escape from here." At that time, joy filled our hero Ling, and he went with Chan. They climbed together to the roof of the towering building, where Chan began to speak. "The theory is not confirmed yet, but I believe that depth is the surface, that if one of us jumps from here, he will descend at tremendous speed toward the depths of the sea, and from there will emerge on the surface of the real-world sea." Ling Hor asked, "So it carries risk?" Chan answered with a serious face, "The chance of success does not exceed 1%. The chance of failure is 99%, and if you fail, you will drown. The decision is yours." Ling did not hesitate for a single moment. He jumped straight into the sea, plunged to its depths, and suddenly found himself back in the human world. A fisherman saw him, rescued him, and brought him ashore. Elsewhere in the story, Kato had forced the half-humans to work as slaves under his control and assigned the zombies to oversee them. Because the half-humans could not bear the sight of the zombies, terror filled their hearts, and many began to turn into zombies themselves. Kato then ordered them, "Fight among yourselves, and whoever remains alive will join me." A bloody battle erupted among them until only one zombie remained, but that zombie ambushed Kato and attacked him unexpectedly. Kato summoned his guardian, Saki, who seized control of the situation with astonishing speed. We return now to our hero, Ling, who was riding a bus bound for Rexasha Street. The next day, Kato arrested a group of half-humans and questioned them about Yan's whereabouts. Unfortunately, what we feared occurred. An old man, frightened for his life, revealed where Yan was hiding. Kato sent the zombies to capture him. Shortly after, they found Yan and the girl who had been with him and began beating her mercilessly. Yan rose up and shouted, "Leave her!" He tried with all his might to activate embodiment of power to summon his guardian, but he could not. His anger swelled as he cried, "I wish I were like my brother Ling. I would have defeated these scoundrels in an instant." Before he could act, a zombie seized him and struck him violently. At that moment, our hero Ling arrived and struck them with lightning speed, eliminating them mercilessly. Then, Eugene joined him and wiped out the remaining foes. Their performance was truly blazing. Ling smiled and said, "Your skills have improved, Eugene." The guardian replied, "I am the embodiment of your power, and what is happening now is because your magic and energy have grown." While Yan was thanking the girl for her help, she turned to him with terrifying eyes and suddenly transformed into a zombie. Shocked, Yan watched as she lunged at him, but Eugene swiftly intercepted and restrained her. Yan cried out, "Do not hurt her, she is kind." But Ling said with deep regret, "Unfortunately, we have no choice but to eliminate her." Yan shouted in anger, "I will not allow it." Realizing his brother would understand only through harsh lessons, Ling commanded Eugene to release her. As soon as he did, the girl attacked Yan, attempting to strangle him fiercely. The boy understood the truth, and Ling ordered his guardian to seize her again, finally defeating her himself. Yan was deeply affected and wept bitterly over her death. After burying her, he said with determination, "I will train and become stronger to protect those I love, and even without magical energy, I will fight with everything I have." Ling Seo told his brother, "Do not worry, we will train together." They vowed to always support one another. A bond of true brotherhood. They returned to the streets and the human world, spending most of their days training together. Over time, their skills improved remarkably, especially Yan, whose physical strength became so extraordinary that he could knock down Ling Wei during practice. They continued like this for years, until finally deciding to return to Raksasha Street to take revenge on Kato. Upon entering the street, they saw a group of zombies attacking the old man they had seen earlier. Yan advanced toward them, frightening everyone, and suddenly launched a fierce assault. He defeated 2 of them using only his physical power, then grabbed the third and said, "Go and tell Kato that the original street leaders have returned." The zombie hurried to deliver the message to Kato, who was shocked. He quickly assembled a full army and advanced toward them. Meanwhile, the street residents had heard the news, and excitement spread like wildfire. They thought the hour of deliverance from the hell they lived in had come. Moments later, Kato arrived with his zombie army. Yan charged and eliminated them in the blink of an eye. Kato sneered, "Come to me, boy," and immediately summoned his personal guardian. Ling appeared from behind, and Kato said seriously, "So the one who defeated all the zombies is the younger brother. I will not allow this to escalate further." Quickly, Kato commanded his guardian Saki to attack Eugene, but he was surprised when Eugene easily repelled the strikes. A fierce battle erupted between the guardians while Ling slowly approached Kato and said, "Scum like you do not deserve to be a leader." Kato lunged at him and a fierce duel ensued, ending swiftly with Ling and Eugene victorious and Kato and Saki thoroughly defeated. After the battle, Ling and Yan went to their father's house, the former leader, but Kato did not give up. He followed angrily. Upon arriving, he shouted, "Stay away from my house." To their surprise, Ling discovered that he had destroyed their old home and built another in its place. Continued, "This tree your father always guarded was not just for protection. It contains immense magical energy that has yet to be utilized." Suddenly, Kato cut a part of the tree and consumed it, causing his magical power to rise unnaturally. It became clear that the tree was unique in the world, absorbing and storing nature's magic. As the magic transferred to Kato, his power increased tremendously. Worse, the strength of Saumur embodiment of power, his guardian Han Sakiyao, grew at the same rate. To demonstrate this, Saki attacked Ling and Eugene without warning, striking them to the ground with destructive blows. They tried to fight back, but were powerless against this overwhelming force. Kato intensified the situation, seizing Dax, Ling, and striking him with a blow that nearly killed him, then attempting to choke him. At that moment, Yan charged at Kato ferociously to attack him, but Eugene seized the opportunity, grabbing both brothers and fleeing at maximum speed until they reached the street gate. In the other side, Kato, who remained unharmed, ordered Saki to grant the zombies trunks from the magical tree. Saki hesitated and replied, "That is forbidden. If we do that, we'll lose control over them." But Kato responded confidently, "Don't worry. Even if something goes wrong, we'll eliminate them later." Saki obeyed the order and the zombies' power multiplied several times over. They began a massacre among the citizens, spreading destruction everywhere. At that moment we shift to Yan, who was furious and refused to flee. He shouted with determination, "I will take revenge on Kato no matter what it costs me, and it's none of your business, brother." Ling Krushat replied firmly, "You must listen to me." But Yan stubbornly answered, "You're just a coward. I won't listen to someone like you." Ling slapped him hard across the face. He deserved it. How could he dare insult his elder brother, the one who had sacrificed everything to protect him? Yet in Ling's heart, there was only one desire, to protect his younger brother. He carried him on his shoulders and took him outside the gate, then returned to fight the zombies alone. But because of their overwhelming numbers and immense strength, they surrounded him from all sides, raining blows upon him until he could no longer tell where the next strike would come from. Meanwhile, Eugene was busy fending off the endless waves of zombies, unable to reach Ling because of their sheer number. At the same time, Yan was desperately trying to re-enter the gate by any means possible, but it was useless. He screamed in anger, "Why did my brother push me out? I'm not weak, I can help him. The only problem is that I don't possess any magical energy, but I'll never give up." Yan began throwing rocks, trying to climb back into the gate again and again, but all his efforts were in vain. On the other side of the gate, Ling and Eugene were being brutally beaten, and the zombies left no chance for the hero to catch his breath. And if you thought he was weak, you'd be wrong, for he was fighting entire armies. Every time he destroyed one squad, another appeared, then a third and a fourth, until his body was exhausted and his energy completely drained. In the end, he was defeated. The soldiers dragged him before Kato, informing him that they couldn't find the younger brother. Enraged, Kato killed the soldier who delivered the report, then ordered the others to search for the second boy as quickly as possible. He also told Saki to torture Ling until he confessed his brother's location. But our hero didn't utter a single word. All he said was, "I want to go home, to my father." Kato's anger grew, and he said mockingly, "Your father is dead. Stop this nonsense. I'll find your brother and bury you both together." Ling replied with confidence, "You'll never find him. I've hidden him somewhere safe." Kato's eyes narrowed in suspicion, and he questioned the soldiers about where they had found Ling. They told him they discovered him near the street gate. Kato smirked wickedly and said, "Now I understand. You hid him in the human world. That's the safe place you meant, isn't it?" Ling's face fell, and despair took over his heart. Kato ordered one of his soldiers to bring Yan. The soldier rushed toward the gate, but the moment he passed through it, his body vanished completely. It was then revealed that zombies were forbidden from entering the human world, and if they did, they would become invisible to the eye, which was exactly what had happened. At that very moment, Yan felt a strange presence near him, though he couldn't see anything. Suddenly, without warning, the soldier attacked him and knocked him to the ground. The blow was so strong that Yan began to bleed, but he spat that blood right into the soldier's face. To his surprise, the soldier's features began to appear before him. Yan realized instantly that it was one of Kato's zombie soldiers. The soldier then struck him violently and threw him aside. As he wiped the blood off his face, his features vanished once again into invisibility. Suddenly, a large number of soldiers arrived. "Do you think Yan would be afraid?" "No." He smiled to himself and said, "This is exactly what I wanted." An incredible idea struck him. He dashed toward the water cannon. The zombies tried to stop him, but he kept going and broke it. Water poured down like rain, revealing the hidden zombies. Yans leaped onto one of them, struck hard, and pushed them toward the gate. Both of them fell inside. Afterward, they headed to Kato's house. When Kato saw them, he was shocked, yet spoke with chilling calm. "Don't get full of yourself. You're just a child." Yen charged with blinding speed, but Kato dodged every strike and landed a powerful blow to Yan's face. Yan rose again, and both brothers attacked together in perfect synchronization. Their dual strikes were breathtaking, yet they barely affected Kato, who ordered coldly, "Stop this meaningless revenge. Go home. Such acts are pointless. The world runs on strength. In this forest, the strong devour the weak." Ling replied firmly, "You're wrong." He tried to get closer and strike him, but Kato raised his aura massively, freezing him in place. The younger brother refused to yield and attacked. Kato Rees grabbed Honinyansky Stiba's head and said coldly, "I'm bored, so I'll do something entertaining. I'll erase your memories for a while and plant new hatred inside you. Hatred for your own brother. You'll kill him, and once he's dead, I'll return your memories." Ling shouted, "I won't let you," and lunged, but Kato struck him down effortlessly. In a desperate move, Ling ordered Eugene to attack, yet Saki intercepted him, and a fierce battle erupted between the two. Meanwhile, Kato executed his vile plan. Yan's memories vanished in mere seconds. His expression changed, his eyes turned blank, and Kato-hun roared, "He's your enemy. Kill him with this knife." Yan grabbed the knife and rushed at his brother. Lingao tried to wake him with a strike to his face, but it was useless. Yan attacked again and again. Ling dodged every blow until the knife flew from Yan's hand. Then, Yan turned and struck Ling across the face. Eugenia, exhausted from fighting, saw Ling's dire condition and ran toward him. Kato ordered Saki to eliminate him. Saki hesitated. He knew this wasn't a warrior's act, especially since the fight involved two children, but in the end, he couldn't defy his master. He released arrows one after another until Eugene collapsed to the ground. At that moment, Yan was relentlessly beating his brother. Blood poured from Ling, his condition critical. Yan approached to finish him with the knife, but suddenly, tears streamed down his face for no reason. He sobbed, "How can I hate you? When I'm about to kill you, I cry. Who are you?" Ling, gasping for breath, replied, "I'm your older brother." He tried to remind Yan of their happy and sad moments from the past. Yan couldn't recall everything, but a voice deep inside whispered that it was true. This was his brother. Suddenly, Kato shoved Yan forward. The knife plunged into Ling's body. Yan froze, horrified, then burst into tears, screaming, "Please don't die! I don't want to be alone!" Then he began to remember the song of loneliness his brother used to sing for him. Memories flooded back all at once. At that moment, Ling whispered weakly, "I'll always live in your memory." He closed his eyes and death embraced him suddenly. Yan, struck by the tragedy, screamed at the top of his lungs, "Don't die, big brother. I can't live without you. No matter how hard life was, it was bearable as long as you were with me." Seeing all this, Eugene, still alive but gravely wounded, realized despair was not an option. He took out a strange box, broke its seal, and from it emerged a magical staff and a vast horde of demonic creatures. Jimon told them everything that had happened and begged for help. One of the creatures accepted and became a guardian to protect the brothers. The rest offered their power to Yan. Slowly, Eugene's body began to fade. Breaking the seal required a sacrifice, and he had given his life. Yan could see nothing but darkness. Only one desire remained: revenge. He ordered the new guardian to follow him, and together they faced Kato. Kato, shocked by what he saw, commanded Sakis to attack, but the guardian seized Saki without hesitation, then delivered a fatal punch to Kato, igniting a furious battle. Yanmom unleashed a storm of relentless, destructive blows, shaking the pillars of the building until part of it collapsed. Kato Kadisai tried to resist the overwhelming force but failed. Yan's attacks were merciless and unending. In a final act of desperation, Kato shattered nearby glass and used it as a weapon, but Yan struck him with a legendary blow that broke the ceiling above. The assault continued until Kato, in panic, released the zombie cells. They rushed at Royaro surrounding him, yet Yan did not stop. He detonated a massive explosion that obliterated the entire place. Saki grabbed Kato and fled, but the guardian chased after them while Yan threw the ranks of zombies surrounding him without mercy. Saki Yao tried to resist, yet his strength was almost gone. The guardian's power was legendary. With one fierce charge, he launched an attack so overwhelming that Saki couldn't endure it. Desperately, Saki tried again, but a single devastating blow knocked him to the ground. Kato, still confident, smirked and said, "There's no need to worry. Every zombie in this street obeys me." But to his shock, the zombies turned on him, swarming around with the intent to kill. He stood frozen. These were the very creatures he himself had transformed and taught to kill. Saki, realizing the danger, summoned the last fragment of his strength and fought off the horde, striking each zombie down one by one until none remained. When he reached the last one, he delivered a powerful punch that ended its life. Kato gave a smug smile. "Now that your strength has returned, Saki, finish that giant off." But to his horror, Saki was barely standing. His body trembled, his energy vanished, and before Kato could react, Saki's form dissolved into nothingness. Kato stared in disbelief, his mind breaking under the weight of the reality before him. He collapsed to the ground like a madman. The guardian then stepped forward to finish what was left. At that moment, Yan arrived and stopped the fight. He grabbed Kato and hurled him beyond the gate of Rixasha Street, casting him out into the human world. Then Yan stood tall before the humans and declared, "I am the strongest person alive. I am the leader of Rixasha Street." But, to his misfortune, the humans before him turned out to be mere gang members. They laughed, then grabbed him and began to beat him mercilessly. Elsewhere, Yan sat alone on a pile of rubble, grief consuming him as he mourned his brother. Suddenly, a man appeared, the same mysterious figure he had seen before. Santum. Santum told him that the Council of Lords had chosen him to be the new leader of the street, yet Yan showed little interest, until the moment he saw his brother Ling standing behind Santum. He froze, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. Ling had become a spirit, a true spirit. In that instant, Yan realized that his brother was still with him and would never leave him alone. Ling urged his brother to accept Santum's offer, and Yan finally agreed, asking for more details. Santum explained, "The lords of the street have decided that you shall become the new leader, but only if you go to the island of death to train and grow stronger." Yan accepted, and the two departed together, while Ling stayed behind to guard Rixasha Street. Years passed. Yan grew into a man and returned to the street, while Ling remained the same, forever youthful, bound as a spirit. In another turn of fate, a girl named Xia appeared, unemployed and desperate for work. She wandered through the human world in search of a job. One day she encountered Santum, who offered her a position in magical operations. Confused by his words, she refused and walked away. At that same moment, she collided with Yan, who was now working as a delivery man, riding his motorcycle through the city. Her belongings scattered across the ground. "It's all your fault," he shouted. Flustered, she replied, "Don't worry, it's just some papers. I'll pick them up now." But Yan barked back angrily, "I'm not talking about your stuff, idiot. I'm talking about the food I was delivering." Xia froze in shock, and the situation worsened when Yan demanded payment, insisting he would take the money no matter what. "It's your fault. The traffic light was red. You weren't supposed to cross." Only then did Xia realize she had been lost in thought, replaying her encounter with Santum. She sighed, took out her wallet, and handed him the money. As he turned to leave, Yan muttered, "Next time, keep your eyes open." Later that day, Xia continued wandering from one company to another, looking for a job, but every door closed in her face. By nightfall, she returned to her apartment, weary and hopeless. Suddenly her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number inviting her to a job interview. Without thinking, she rushed out, following the address in the message, until she found herself standing before the gate of Rixasha Street. Her shock deepened when she discovered a strange card inside her bag, one that granted her unrestricted entry into the street. Trembling, she stepped forward, noticing the eerie silence and suffocating darkness around her. She whispered to herself, "I shouldn't have come here. It's already midnight. I shouldn't be here at all." She hurried her steps, trying to reach as fast as possible, but suddenly, she collided with one of the zombies. At first, she thought someone was filming a movie, but she couldn't believe her eyes until the zombie actually attacked her. She leapt back just in time, only to find dozens of zombies surrounding her from every direction. Terrified, she began to run with all her strength, but they caught up to her and were about to kill her, when a sudden volley of arrows shot through the air, striking the zombies down one after another. The one who fired them was Ling. Yes, he had finally arrived, alongside Yan. They landed with such overwhelming speed that it caused a massive explosion to erupt across the area. The battle between them and the zombies began instantly. Yan charged in with immense power and ferocity, and no one could stand in his way. Meanwhile, Ling sat down with Xia, explaining to her everything about the street. Literally, everything. He told her that his brother Yan had now become the leader of the street. The girl gazed at him intently. Something about his face felt familiar. Then suddenly she remembered. He was the delivery boy she had seen that very morning. What a coincidence. And then, amid the chaos of the battle, a giant zombie appeared, roaring furiously. "I'll defeat you, Yan. I'll become the leader of this street." Yan smiled confidently and replied, "First of all, a leader isn't chosen through random brawls like this. He's selected by the Council of Masters. Second, there are many streets like Raksasha, but this one is the most dangerous of them all. And you came here to conquer the most dangerous street in the world? Run away while you still have a brain." Before finishing his words, Yan darted forward, attacking the zombie with incredible speed, dodging every strike and landing a powerful blow that sent the creature crashing to the ground. But the zombie rose again and counterattacked viciously. Their blows collided fiercely, the fight blazing with intensity as their powers seemed perfectly matched. In the midst of this fierce battle, Yan suddenly appeared behind the zombie and unleashed a torrent of flames upon him, while Xia watched the whole scene in utter shock. But the greatest surprise was yet to come. The zombie didn't die. Instead, his arm transformed into a massive serpent, which lunged violently at Yan. The attacks came one after another, but thanks to his astonishing speed, Yan dodged every single one, waiting patiently for the right moment. When the chance came, he grabbed the serpent, pulled it toward him with immense force, and delivered a crushing strike that slammed the monster into a nearby building. Yet the zombie stood again and charged at Yan, landing a heavy blow. Thinking he had finally won, the creature growled triumphantly. But Yan smirked and said, "Did you really think this was over?" He rose to his feet, a mocking smile on his face. "I was only warming up, my friend. I haven't even used my embodiment of power skill yet, nor have I summoned my guardian. Show." The zombie snarled. "What do you mean?" Yanchis replied calmly, "You'll see for yourself." And the moment he said that, he activated his ability. A brilliant light erupted, and Sho, the colossal guardian, emerged. The ground trembled beneath his steps as he landed, and with a single strike, he crushed the mighty zombie instantly. The remaining zombies, struck with terror, fell to their knees, and from that moment on, they swore complete allegiance to Yan. And at that very moment, Xia believed what she was seeing, and suddenly, she fainted from the shock. The next morning, she woke up thinking everything that happened had merely been a dream. But as soon as she saw Yan standing before her, he smiled and said, "What you saw wasn't a dream. You're now in the street of half-humans and zombies, the street of Raksasha." The girl panicked, thinking she had become half-human herself, but Yanai reassured her, saying, "Don't worry, you're still human. However, in rare cases like yours, when a human accidentally enters one of these streets, It becomes the duty of the street's leader to erase their memories immediately. As he spoke, a strange smile formed on his face, and he added, "Calm down, don't be afraid. We wouldn't want you to lose your mind all of a sudden." Terrified by his tone, the poor girl froze. But then, Yan remembered a special case, that some humans possess spiritual energy similar to half-humans, even though they live in the natural world. Still, he wasn't certain yet. He stepped closer to confirm his suspicion, but she suddenly hurled her bag at his face, scattering papers everywhere. That's when Yan noticed a black card among them and instantly recognized it. It belonged to the Hasantam organization. He asked her, "Where did you get this card?" She replied that she had met someone on the street who gave it to her, and later that night, she received a mysterious message. At that moment, Yan said seriously, "Come with me." They set off together on his motorcycle. As they rode through the misty streets, Yan began to explain calmly, "This street is called Raksasha, the street of half-humans and zombies. These half-humans, when overcome by extreme fear, transform into zombies. That's why each street has a leader, someone whose duty is to protect half-humans from turning and eliminate the zombies who've lost their humanity. Across the world, there are countless streets like Raksasha, but ordinary humans have no idea they even exist." Xia interrupted him, asking about the giant warrior she had seen the night before. Yan smiled, then summoned the same warrior before her and said, "This is Shou." He explained, "Every gifted individual possesses a unique ability known as manifestation of power. Some manifest their power as a magical weapon, while others, like me, manifest it as a warrior who fights by their side. The strength of that warrior depends on the strength and magical energy of their master. That's really all there is to it." When he finished speaking, he turned his gaze toward the horizon. That's when Zia noticed a large horde of zombies gathering ahead. Yan smiled reassuringly and said, "Don't worry, this is part of my daily routine. I'll take care of them right now." The girl asked in disbelief, "Didn't you defeat them yesterday?" He replied, "What I defeated yesterday was just one battalion. These are from another. Most of the zombies under my control are stationed near my home in the city center, but the outskirts are, well, crawling with the uncontrolled ones." Before she could respond, Yan accelerated with reckless speed, crushing zombies beneath his motorcycle tires as if they were insects, while Shou finished off those left behind. Suddenly, Yan veered left down a narrow slope, but lost his balance and fell down a staircase. The real disaster struck when they realized the stairs ended in a dead-end wall. Xiaomt screamed in terror, but Yanban stayed composed, charging straight ahead, and to her shock, they passed right through the wall. Moments later, she realized the wall was nothing but an illusion. They were back, in the world of humans. Yandu turned to her and said, "I'll take you home now." A few minutes later, they arrived at her house. There, Yan looked at her with curiosity and said, "I've discovered something strange." He reached out his hand and said, "Read what's written here." Xiao read the words easily. Then Yan stopped a passerby and asked him to read the same thing, but the man replied he couldn't see anything and walked away. That's when Yanni said, "These inscriptions are drawn with magical energy. Only those who possess high-level spiritual power can see them." Jia stared at him in shock and asked, her voice trembling, "You mean, I possess magical energy, and that I can use the skill of power manifestation?" He nodded calmly and replied, "Exactly. The Santam organization knew this long ago. In truth, the card you carry wasn't what allowed you to enter. It was merely a guide to the gate. What truly enabled your passage was your own magical energy." Xia stood speechless, unable to utter a word. Then, Yan, his expression firm yet laced with warning, said, "In any case, I don't ever want to see you again in Raksasha Street." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving her standing there in silence and confusion. That night, Xia returned home and sat alone, lost in thought. Her emotions were a storm: fear, awe, anxiety, confusion. Yet the feeling that ruled them all was fascination. She was fascinated by Raksasha Street, by Yanza's overwhelming strength, and by that hidden world unlike anything she had ever imagined. At the same time, her mind wandered back to her earlier struggles. The endless search for a job, the countless rejections, and how everyone saw her as nothing more than an ordinary girl, unremarkable and replaceable. Remembering those moments filled her with weakness and despair. But then, she recalled Yan's words about her magical power, and a spark ignited deep within her. Determination replaced fear. She decided to try awakening her power manifestation skill. She tried once, twice, over and over again. but nothing happened. She experimented in every way she could imagine, even picking up a small stick and focusing all her will upon it. Still, no success. At last, she sighed in frustration and made up her mind. She would go to Yan and ask him to teach her himself. In a rush of resolve, she changed her clothes and hurried toward the gate. But when she arrived, she stopped abruptly, remembering his stern warning that morning, "I don't want to see you again in Rakshasa Street." She took a deep breath, trying to steady her heart, then whispered to herself, "Maybe I should just forget it and live normally." The next morning, she followed through with that decision. She applied for a job and was accepted. Overjoyed, she returned home, smiling brightly. She took the Asantum card and tossed it out the window, unaware that a robot was watching her from afar. She closed the window and sat on her bed, daydreaming about her first day at work, imagining everyone being mesmerized by her charm and making her the manager on the spot. Poor girl. She had no idea what awaited her. Her fantasies shattered in an instant when a robot suddenly appeared in her room. Without warning, it grabbed her by the neck and began to choke her. She struggled desperately, gasping for air, her heartbeat fading, until, at the last moment, Santum appeared and obliterated the machine with a single strike. Terrified, Zia cried out, "What's happening?" Santum Ho explained that the robot was sent by a secret organization seeking to seize her power and steal her Tundio guardian. Continued, "When you activate the skill of power manifestation, anyone stronger than you can take control of your guardian completely, and once that happens, you lose all your magical energy." Xia, trembling, asked, "But I don't even know how to activate the skill or summon my guardian. And why me? Why don't they just take someone else's guardian?" He replied, "Because your guardian will be far stronger than the rest. Your magical energy is exceptionally high." Meanwhile, somewhere else, the one behind the attack clenched his fists and snarled, "I won't give up that easily." Back at Xi's home, dozens of robots suddenly appeared, surrounding her. Santum shouted, "Quick, head to Rakshasa Street." She ran as fast as she could, the robots chasing her relentlessly, while Santum fought them off with all his might. Panic overwhelmed her as she sprinted through the alleys, unsure where to go. By mistake, she ended up on a rooftop, but even there, the robots swarmed around her. Just before they could reach her, Santum appeared again, destroying them one by one, but more kept coming, endless in number. Shot screamed, "What do we do now?" Santum shouted back, "Jump!" She couldn't comprehend what he meant, so Santum pushed her off the rooftop himself. Xia screamed in terror as she fell, but thankfully she didn't hit the ground. Instead, she landed on something strange. Then, Santum swiftly cut the ropes holding her and caught her in his arms, lowering her safely. "Go to the street," he shouted urgently. "You'll be safe there." Without hesitation, she began to run, but suddenly a massive truck sped toward her, ready to crush her. Before it could touch her, it flipped violently and crashed upside down right in front of her. At that very moment, Santum arrived, his eyes wide with shock. "What did you do? How did you stop that truck?" he demanded. Terrified, Xia replied, I didn't do anything. It wasn't me." Meanwhile, in another place, the man behind the attack replayed the footage of the crash in slow motion, only to discover that it was Zia's guardian who had stopped the truck. His appearance was terrifying, his power immense. Afterward, Santum quickly took Zia back to Rakshasa Street, bringing her straight to Yan's house, explaining that it was the safest place for her at the moment. Yan Yuren welcomed her warmly and served her tea. Xia, smiling, said, "You're kind and polite, unlike your stingy brother." But when she turned around, she froze. Ling Wen was standing there, smirking. "Oh really? You're drinking my tea and calling me stingy? How rude." Yan laughed, trying to calm him down, then led Wei Xia outside to show her the magic tree, the sacred tree their family had protected for generations. At that moment, Santum asked Yan to teach Xia how to control her powers, but Yan refused bluntly. "Take her to the island of death instead," he said. Santum shook his head. "That's impossible. The age limit for that island is 18 away." Yan chuckled teasingly. "Really? Then she's an old lady already." Xia, who overheard the remark, turned bright red and shouted in embarrassment, but Santum ignored her and continued talking to Yan. "Seriously. In any case, if you won't train her, at least let her stay here for now. There's an organization called the Kingdom trying to take control of her powers. They're the same ones behind the recent disasters, like the unnatural rise in zombie numbers and other strange events. The Council of Masters is investigating to find out who's leading them, but so far they've found nothing." Yan listened, uninterested, and said lazily, "And why should I care? The council's problems aren't mine." Santum sighed. "At least look after Zia for a while." But Yan replied coldly, "I don't want someone like her around. She has the mind of a 5-year-old furious. Xia shouted back, I'm not a child. I can cook and do the laundry. Yan smirked wickedly and said to Santum, in that case, I'll let her stay. I could use a maid to clean the house. Santum laughed. As you wish, my friend. No objections here. And so the two men talked about her as if she were a piece of property. Days passed and Xia began doing everything. Cleaning, washing, fixing, cooking. She obeyed every command. Worst of all, Yan constantly called out to her for trivial things. Finally, one day he said, starting tomorrow, you'll take my place in delivering orders. I'm busy. That was the last straw. Xia was about to explode with anger. Ling intervened. We can't send her out while she's being hunted by a dangerous organization. But, Yan sneered. Honestly, you've barely been working lately, but you've been eating plenty. You're more trouble than you're worth. Maybe I'll offer you to the zombies instead of food. At that, Xia completely lost her temper. Enough! No one has ever insulted me like you have. I'll pay rent and leave. Yan was surprised by her outburst, then gave her a sly grin. But the rent's expensive, she glared. Just tell me the price. 100 coins, he replied. Here, she snapped, handing him double. 2 months in advance. In that instant, Yan's entire demeanor changed. His eyes sparkled with greed. Please, have a seat, madam. Whatever you desire. From that day forward, Yan was the one cleaning, cooking, washing, and scrubbing. He worked non-stop until he collapsed in exhaustion, finally lying down to rest. Meanwhile, Ling spoke seriously. I want to know the real reason the kingdom is after a human girl like Xia. I have a feeling. Santum didn't tell us everything last time. The next day, the two went to see Santum, and when they asked him, he said, they're not after her for nothing. What they want lies within her guardian, the elixir of rebirth, a legendary substance capable of returning souls to their bodies and making them human again. Ling and Yan were both stunned by what they had just heard. Santum looked at them and said, that is precisely why I want you, Yan, to train her, so she can master the skill of power manifestation and summon her guardian on her own. Don't you too have souls you wish to bring back to life? Then he stood up and, as he prepared to leave, added calmly, in any case, I must go now. Farewell. Yan remained deep in thought for a long time after that conversation. Eventually, he decided to train her. He called out, get ready, Xia. It's time to get serious. He then took her to a wide lake and began training her by strengthening her lungs through breath-holding exercises underwater. However, she could barely last 30 seconds before surfacing again, gasping for air. I'm a girl, she complained. It's too hard for me to hold my breath any longer than that. Yan replied firmly but calmly. This has nothing to do with being a girl or a boy. It's about determination, confidence, and persistence in training. After hearing his words, Xia tried again, repeating the exercise several times. But when Yan saw little progress, he decided to change the method. He began using different forms of training, like hiking through the mountains, and even, in one strange exercise, ordered her to bite her own arm. The two continued these grueling sessions until sunset. By the end of the day, Xia was utterly exhausted. Ling approached her gently, trying to comfort her, and explained that the harsh training methods weren't out of cruelty. Yan had learned them from books. Surprised, Xia demanded to see those books. Ling brought them to her, and as she flipped through them carefully, her eyes widened in shock. They weren't actual training manuals at all. They were manga. Furious, Xia summoned Santum, shouting, see for yourself! That so-called Yan has been training me with fantasy methods from comic books. Santum responded calmly, that's perfectly fine. Every leader has their own training style. But Xia snapped, that's no excuse for making a fool out of me. I refuse to stay with him any longer. Santum sighed. The organization is still after you, he reminded her. Then take me with you, she protested. Anywhere would be better than staying with that stingy man. A faint smile crossed Santum's face. I can't, he said. I'm currently searching for a fugitive named Legendo. The moment that name was mentioned, both Yan and Ling froze in shock. It was the same man who was said to have murdered their father. That's all I can tell you, said Santum, turning to leave. Goodbye. As Santum departed, Yan looked coldly at Xia and said, I won't train you anymore if you have no will to learn. Then he walked away, leaving her alone. Fell. Xia sat by the window, lost in thought, sadness in her eyes. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed outside. Startled, she rushed out and saw Yan and Ling standing in the street. What's happening? She shouted. It's a group of zombies, Ling answered. But before he could finish, Yan cut him off sharply. No, you can't come with us. Get inside and hide. But, true to her stubborn nature, Xia ignored his command and followed them secretly. Minutes later, Yan and Ling arrived at the scene of the attack. Without hesitation, Yan summoned his guardian, Shou, and charged into battle. Shou tore through the zombies mercilessly, while Yan struck with devastating force. In moments, a massive explosion erupted from Yan's attack, wiping out most of the horde. Only one zombie remained, and Ling finished it off with a swift, lethal strike. Turning to his brother, Ling said, "It seems our suspicions were right. The unnatural increase in zombie numbers is the work of the Kingdom organization. They're probably using them to test their strength." Yan smirked. "All this trouble because of our lucky charm, Xia." Then, narrowing his eyes, he added, "Anyway, I'll keep fighting. Looks like another squad just arrived." With that, he dashed back into the fray. At that moment, Xia arrived at the battlefield, watching from afar, completely mesmerized by Yan's overwhelming power. Ling noticed her and smiled softly. "You know," he said, "Yan wasn't always this strong. He became who he is through hard work and relentless training." Xia said in surprise, "But he is a man and he has a powerful guardian named Shu." Before she could finish, a zombie appeared behind her. But Ling reacted instantly and killed it. Then he spoke calmly. "A person's strength has nothing to do with their gender or age. Those are only motivations." At first he was weak and relied on others, but when he grasped the truth, he resolved to become strong so he could protect himself and live without humiliation. Here we reach another point. Geniuses are not born. They forge themselves through hard work, patience, and perseverance. The difference between people is simple. Some press on despite hardships, others give up easily. A person chooses his own path. No one compels him. So, Xia, you must decide which category you will belong to. The girl listened, astonished at Ling's power, especially considering he was not yet half her age, and even more shocked that he had slaughtered every zombie that had attacked him, one after another, without mercy. Meanwhile, Yan had finished off the entire squad. There was not a single zombie left in the area. Afterwards, Yan took Ling and Xia back home, and thus ended that long day. The next morning, our hero went with Xia to the training ground. This time, she showed marked improvement. She managed to hold her breath for 3 minutes and 15 seconds, and it seemed Ling's words had left a deep impression on her. Then Yan told her he would begin teaching her how to summon her guardian. He asked her to go to a nearby tree and try to sense her guardian's energy, and she succeeded. But suddenly, she saw a beastly creature, a terrifying monster that frightened her greatly. Ling calmed her and asked what she felt. She told him the creature had been extremely angry. Yan then asked if she had ever faced life-threatening situations before, moments when she felt her life was about to end, since guardians often appear at such times. Xia remembered the incident when a car almost ran her down, and that confirmed the truth of his words. On the other side, Yan stood before another man showing him a picture of Legendo and asked whether he knew him. The man said he had never seen him. This man was the leader of a street other than Rexasha, and Yan asked him to notify him immediately if he learned anything about the fugitive. Then Yan left to continue his search, but without any noteworthy results. Everyone denied knowing him, yet the more important scene occurred elsewhere. The leader of the kingdom watched Yan through a surveillance device, and suddenly, Yan vanished from the camera's view, then appeared directly behind the robot, and destroyed it with a single strike. At that moment, Xia sat at home, worry etched across her face. Ling came out to ask why she was so tense. She told him she felt uneasy about everything happening around them. The kingdom was pursuing her, the number of zombies was increasing, the missing criminal had surfaced, and all these events were occurring at once, which made her certain someone was plotting with great malice. Worse, Yan was absent from the house and someone might take advantage of that. Ling reassured her, "Do not worry, I am here." Suddenly he sensed something odd. The scene shifted to Yan, who had destroyed the robot, and turned to find Santum standing behind him. Santum asked, "Are you still searching for Legendo? Are you still determined to take revenge?" Yan answered firmly, "I will never let him go." Santum said calmly, "But the reports of his crimes are unconfirmed. You have not seen it with your own eyes. Do not believe everything you hear." Yan replied confidently, "Even if that is true, I will continue searching until I uncover the truth myself." Santum fell silent for a moment, as though concealing something, then said, "What matters now is protecting Xia. The situation has become dangerous. The kingdom has been trying for years to breach the barrier surrounding Rexasha Street, and they could succeed at any time. If that happens, disaster will strike us all. We must remain extremely cautious, for perhaps within this danger lies something we can use to our advantage." At that very moment, he managed to open an audio-visual communication channel with the leader of the organization. When he asked for his name, the leader did not respond. He merely smirked maliciously and said, "You've lost the battle." Yan frowned. "What do you mean?" he demanded. The man replied coldly, "Leaving Xia alone was a grave mistake." At that instant, Yan's eyes widened in shock. The scene shifted. Suddenly, a monstrous black spider creature appeared and lunged at Xia. Ling rushed to protect her, pulling her inside the house as the beast attacked him ferociously. He leapt high into the air, firing bolts of thunder at it, but they barely made a dent. The spider retaliated, unleashing threads of immense strength that Ling dodged at the last second, but their sheer power obliterated the building entirely. Xia stood frozen in terror, not knowing what to do, while the Ling fought relentlessly, blow after blow, refusing to yield. Then the monster struck him with a crushing blow that left him weakened, before ensnaring Xia in its web. From afar, the leader of the kingdom watched through his monitor, laughing gleefully as though savoring every moment of their struggle. Xia tried to summon her guardian, but failed, and the situation grew worse by the second. Yet, Ling, ever the hero of desperate moments, rose once more, his determination blazing. He summoned his guardian, Leo. Xia looked on in astonishment. She had never seen such a sight before. Ling charged forward, severing the spider's arms and delivering a powerful strike that sent the creature reeling backward, but it quickly recovered, spewing dozens of smaller spiders from its body. Infuriated, Ling unleashed his ultimate technique. Leo launched missiles and energy bombs that gathered in the sky before descending all at once upon the swarm, annihilating them in a colossal explosion. Meanwhile, Santam spoke to the leader through the transmission and said coldly, "Do not forget, you are dealing with the two strongest brothers in this world." Then he terminated the connection. Back at the scene, Xia discovered that Leo was not a true guardian, but a robot powered by a magical scroll that supplied him with energy. Amazed, she asked Ling to build her one, but he refused, explaining that robots had many drawbacks. Their power was limited, unlike a true guardian, whose strength grew alongside that of its master. He added that Leo's most powerful attack had drained him severely, forcing him to rely on another scroll for energy replenishment. In short, he told her, a real guardian was far superior in every way. The next morning, as they were discussing this, Yan appeared, followed by Santam. Everyone went outside, and the brothers began repairing the destruction left behind, while Santam stood with Xia, explaining the importance of her personal guardian and its true power, the very reason the kingdom sought to control it. But Yan interrupted, his tone serious. He told Xia that her training would now be doubled, as time was running short. The organization had discovered a way to breach the barrier surrounding the area, and it wouldn't be long before they launched another attack. Indeed, on the other side, the leader of the organization decided to go personally this time. Meanwhile, Yusuf had no idea what was being plotted, as Yan Raz began another round of intense training, this time focusing on summoning her guardian. She tried once, twice, even a third time, but failed every attempt. Frustrated, she sat down and complained, "Why do you force me to perform these moves when you don't need them and summon your guardian so easily?" He replied coldly, "Those movements are for beginners. The experienced ones can summon their guardians effortlessly." Angered, She accused him of being arrogant and stingy, and the two began quarreling as usual. After a brief silence, Yan summoned Shu and said to Shi, "We'll try a different training method. Do you remember when you were about to die, and your guardian appeared? Come with me now." Jez's expression changed immediately. She could sense that Yan now wasn't planning anything good. She turned to run, but Shu caught her. The two rode together on one horse, galloping down the street at an incredible speed, while Mao Yan led ahead on his motorcycle. When they finally arrived at their destination, Yan dismounted and calmly said to her, "Handle things on your own now." But fear struck Shi's at heart as she found herself surrounded by a horde of the zombies. She clung tightly to Yan's Hadi bike and shouted, "Don't leave me here." Yet he ordered Shu to pull her away, then rode off. Moments later, Shu vanished as well, leaving Shi completely alone, face to face with the terrifying creatures. But in truth, she wasn't entirely alone. Yan was watching from above with Santams and Ling, ready to intervene if things went too far. Jia fought bravely at first, managing to repel a few of the undead, but they soon overpowered her and surrounded her. At that moment, the three young men jumped in to save her. It was then that they realized her guardian was bound by chains of fear, a symbol of her inner terror. She was even afraid of her own guardian, which prevented him from freeing himself or protecting her. Things became more complicated after that. When everyone returned home, Leon came up with a dangerous idea to make Shi eat from the magic tree, hoping it might awaken something within her. But the risk was enormous. Its dangers far outweighed its potential benefits, leaving him hesitant to proceed. However, Ji, who had overheard their conversation, asked curiously about the tree. Santom led her outside, pointed toward a massive tree and said, "That is the EV magic tree, known as the EVES pagoda tree. Whoever consumes part of it gains immense power." Overjoyed, Ji joked, "Why didn't you tell me this from the beginning? I would have eaten from it, instead of enduring all this exhausting training." Her words enraged Leon, who shouted sharply, "You're always looking for the easy way out. You run from training, refuse to push yourself, rely on others for help, and now you want to depend on the tree? When will you stop being so careless?" Ji fell silent, realizing deep down that he was right. Then Santom said calmly to Leon, "The final decision is yours. After all, that tree belongs to your family." From a distance, Ling watched silently. When Leon returned to his room, Ling's approached him and said, "You're still haunted by what happened in the past, aren't you?" Leon sighed deeply and replied, "How could I not be? I lost half of my soul because of that incident. Everything that happened to us traces back to it, or rather, to that cursed tree." Ling had responded gently. The tree wasn't the true cause. Life is made of both good and evil. Nothing flows smoothly without hardship or sorrow. Meanwhile, Xie sat alone, heavy with sadness and disappointment. Santom approached her quietly and stood behind her, asking softly, "What troubles you?" She almost burst into tears as she replied, "I've started to hate myself, this weak self that gives up at the first obstacle, that depends on others instead of standing on its own." Santama smiled kindly and said, "You need to focus more. Try once, twice, even 3 times. Never give up, no matter the cost. Learn to make your own choices and change who you are." Though his words were gentle and wise, Xie remained lost in sorrow. Before leaving, he said, "Think carefully about what I told you," and walked away. Xie then approached the magic pagoda tree, deep in thought, torn between doubt and determination. From afar, Leon and Ling watched her with calm satisfaction, for they both knew she had begun to confront herself and was finally walking the right path. Night had fallen, and the two brothers went up to their rooms. But suddenly, a strange energy spread throughout the area. Leon felt it instantly. The alleys of the street were swallowed by darkness as the lights went out, and a wave of fear filled the air. Leon and Ling rushed outside to find out what was happening. At that moment, the scene shifts, revealing the source of all the chaos. It was the leader of the organization himself. Yes, he had arrived, bringing with him a massive army of robots that poured into the streets without warning, destroying houses and attacking civilians mercilessly. Yin witnessed the devastation and decided to end the battle at once. He summoned Shu and ordered him to seal the rift through which the enemies had entered. Shu obeyed immediately, and Yan charged forward beside him, while Ling stayed behind to protect Shi. As for Santom, as usual, he stood by doing absolutely nothing. Our hero, Yan, dashed toward the rift, tearing through every robot in his path. None could even touch him. He was like lightning streaking between their ranks, with Shu beside him, fighting just as fiercely. Yet the problem persisted. The rift remained open, spewing out endless waves of robots. And as if that weren't enough, a second rift opened. Yan quickly ordered Shu to hold off the robots from the new rift, while he took care of the first one himself. Meanwhile, Shi stood frozen, frustrated with Santom, who was still motionless. She urged him to step in, but Ling stopped her, saying that Yan didn't need help in battle. He barely finished his words before another portal appeared. Shi once again pleaded with Santom to assist, but he coldly replied, "He didn't ask for my help." She snapped, shouting, "Does he need to ask you to do what's obvious? Go and help him, now." Her words struck him, and reluctantly, he joined the fight. Yan was like a storm, obliterating rows of robots with blazing fire attacks, yet their numbers kept multiplying. At that moment, Ling realized the truth and shouted, "Now there are 3 rifts, east, south, and west. Only the north remains." Without hesitation, he rushed toward the northern side, and just as he suspected, a 4th rift was forming. But this time, he was ready. He activated his special ability, launching a barrage of missiles that annihilated the enemy completely. Each of the young warriors fought fiercely. Ling, Santum, Yan, each performing his role flawlessly, until the entire street had turned into a burning wasteland of debris. Strangely, the leader of the organization had yet to appear, which only deepened everyone's suspicions. As for she sat in despair, belittling herself as always, calling herself useless. Yanwad approached her and said, "You're right." His words startled her, but then he began to motivate her in his own unique way, reminding her of every hardship she had survived, of how she endured even when surrounded by hell itself. Moments later, Santum Zakor returned, warning them that the rifts were still open. Ling added that the kingdom organization couldn't possibly be unaware of how weak these robots were, meaning something far more dangerous was coming. Santum quickly went to inspect one of the rifts, and that's when disaster struck. The 4 rifts began to emit intersecting beams of light that converged at a single point, forming a massive ray aimed directly at the ground, at Shi. But Yan reacted just in time, pulling her out of harm's way. Then suddenly, a gigantic, terrifying monster emerged. It became clear the robots had merely been the appetizers, and this monster was the main course. Night fell. Yan realized at once that the creature was being controlled. He grabbed Shu and charged toward it. The beast launched a chaotic assault on the townspeople and nearly killed a little girl, but Yan saved her at the last moment. When he looked at her face, he recognized the same girl who had once saved him in his childhood. For a moment he was distracted, and the monster took advantage of that to unleash a devastating fire strike, only for Shu to intercept it and save him. Yan snapped out of his hesitation, ordered the girl to hide, then, together with Shu, leapt onto the beast, and the two of them began a brutal, explosive battle. At the same time, the street's inhabitants started turning into zombies. Buildings collapsed one after another, and chaos reigned. Then a bold idea struck Yan. He opened a new rift leading to a barren desert, and shoved the beast and Shu through it, then followed them himself. There, amid the sandy void, the real fight began. The monster attacked violently. Shu lunged to push it back, and Yan smiled with confidence. He realized he could finally fight freely, without fear for his city or its people. Elsewhere, someone attacked Shi. Ling intercepted the blow, and the awful shock came when it became clear that the strike had been delivered by the region's leader himself, who introduced himself as Heil, one of the commanders of the kingdom organization, and ranked among its 10 most powerful members. Ling sensed the terrible power radiating from him and warned, "Do not come any closer." Heil sneered, "I do not fear children." Meanwhile, Santum had entered one of the rifts, as we know, and there he encountered the street leader we had seen before, a man named Joe, who was in a pitiable state, exhausted and apparently defeated by Heil. Joe told Santum everything Heil had done and begged, "Please, help me." Santum did not respond. He left in silence, which raised suspicion that he, too, was hiding something. We returned to Lian, who had ordered Shu to confront the demonic beast. Shu performed his task with exceptional skill. He struck the monster and withstood its assaults. His performance was astonishing. On the other side, Ling summoned Leo to face Heil, who flashed a malicious grin and said, "You can no longer use your strongest skill. You used it only once, and that was your limit, wasn't it? Things have become very easy for me now." Back with Yan, he and Shu found they could not wound the beast. Not even a scratch marked its hide despite their repeated attacks. Yan decided that if they attacked together, they might discover a weak point or opening in its body. They ambushed the monster simultaneously, but it noticed them and prepared to finish them with a lethal fire stroke. Yet Yan intervened at the last moment with a thunderous attack that saved Shu from death. Suddenly Shu observed that the beast had never opened its eyes, and he wondered aloud, "Then how can it detect our position so easily?" Yan answered, "Certainly through its senses of hearing and smell, so we must quickly find a way to defeat it, and perhaps we can exploit the distant rifts in this area." Shu didn't fully understand, but Yan said firmly, "Just follow my orders." Then he surprised the monster, leaping onto its back and steering it straight toward the portal ahead. Before the creature could unleash its flames, Shu dove through the gate and escaped unharmed. At that moment, Yan struck the monster with a powerful blow, then leapt into another portal and fired a barrage of blazing shots. The monster followed him in rage, and soon the three of them, Yan, Shu, and the beast, were darting between portals at incredible speed. The one suffering the most was the monster itself. Disoriented and overwhelmed, it no longer knew where the attacks came from or when they would strike, until one massive hit sent it crashing back into the desert once again. But the problem was that its wounds began healing rapidly. Yan said, "Now I understand. This creature isn't just an ordinary monster, it's a guardian, the embodiment of pure power itself. Every time it's wounded, it heals using its master's magic. In short, the only way to destroy it is to kill the one controlling it." The question remained, who was this mysterious controller? Meanwhile, Ling was being overpowered by Heil, unable to withstand his might. Leo was completely exhausted, unable to stand anymore, yet Ling refused to give up. He kept fighting with his bare fists to the very end, but Heil's speed was beyond reason. Ling's strikes looked like child's play before him. She, on the other hand, stood frozen, desperate to find a way to help Ling. Then she remembered the pagoda tree. At that exact moment, Ling took several brutal hits, blood pouring from his wounds, and he shouted, "She! Eat a piece of the tree's trunk. That's the only way." The girl rushed toward the tree, tore off a piece of its bark, and swallowed it. Her eyes began to glow, and an immense surge of magical energy erupted from her body, felt by everyone across the street. She screamed in agony and was thrown violently to the ground. Then came the greatest shock. Her guardian was released. He appeared massive, furious, terrifying in form, and began firing magical beams wildly in all directions. The catastrophe didn't stop there. The guardian directed a massive beam toward the tree and destroyed it completely. Everyone stood in disbelief as something strange appeared. It looked like a portal, pulling the street's inhabitants toward it with terrifying force. Heil smiled in triumph and shouted, "That tree was the barrier between the human world, the half-human world, and many others. But now that it's gone, all worlds will merge, and chaos will consume everything." At that moment, she panicked, completely losing control. Meanwhile, in other parts of the city, the leaders of the other streets had already learned of the destruction, as had the Council of Masters, who watched from afar. Yet none could truly grasp the disaster, except those who lived it. Xie was falling apart as the situation worsened beyond reason. The portal began to drag Ling in as well, but he resisted and barely managed to escape. Just as he did, Xie caught hold of him, only for Heil to strike her away, making her lose balance and fall. At that very moment, Yan had managed to escape from the monster. After passing through the gate, he found himself in a strange and unfamiliar place. Standing before him was Santum, and there came the greatest shock of all. Yan realized that Santum had been dead for 3 months. There was only one explanation. Someone had been impersonating him all this time. Then Yan noticed a message written in blood. It turned out to have been written by the real Santum. In it, Santum explained that he had been attacked viciously and would likely not survive this time. He warned that the Kingdom organization was not the only enemy. There was another, far more dangerous one that had now emerged. The world, he wrote, was on the brink of chaos, conflict, and wars, unlike anything ever seen before. A catastrophe was coming. Yan read the message to its end, then leaped back through the gate once more. At that same moment, Xie was running after Ling, who was about to be completely pulled into the gate. But Yan arrived just in time, grabbing him and shouting, "I won't let you go, my big brother." As they spoke, Ling began recounting everything that had happened in detail. Without hesitation, Yan charged straight toward Hill. The latter smirked wickedly and summoned his giant guardian. But he didn't stop there. He merged with it, transforming into a massive, horrifying creature, a true abomination. Yan lunged from behind, striking with a blazing fiery attack, but Hill dodged skillfully. The blast hit Xi's guardian instead, enraging it. The guardian retaliated by firing a beam of energy at Yan. But Yishuo intercepted it at the last second and counterattacked fiercely. Taking advantage of the opening, Yan unleashed a barrage of rapid blows against Hill, but Hill blocked every single one. Then, soaring high into the air, Hill struck Yan from above with a devastating blow that sent him crashing into the ground. Yet Yan rose again, his determination unbroken. He summoned another guardian, one resembling Shu in both form and power, and commanded it to fight by his side. Even so, the two of them could not land a single hit on Shi's guardian, whose strength had now grown to terrifying, unprecedented levels. Meanwhile, the battle between Yan and Hill raged on so fiercely that the ground itself seemed to quake beneath them. Suddenly, Shi's guardian launched a tremendous strike that sent Yan sprawling to the ground. Hill seized the opportunity, charging forward to deliver the final blow, but the new guardian blocked the attack with a mighty strike that saved Yan, then readied a roaring counterattack that forced Hill to retreat in fear. Panicking, Hill quickly separated himself from his guardian, letting it take the blow in his stead. He had realized he could no longer face them both at once. But the greatest surprise came when Yan called out to his guardian by name, shouting, "Kuro!" And the guardian responded immediately, "Greater than, at your command." Then Kuro stepped back as Yan Wai ordered, his glowing eyes fixed on the battlefield, awaiting his master's next move. At that moment, it became clear that Heil was on the brink of destruction. Yanbisi looked at him calmly and said, "I'll tell you the biggest surprise. I have 7 guardians just like you, like Goshura and Kuro. It seems that all the demonic beings in this world stopped resisting long ago and became my servants, ever since I was a child. Realizing the situation had completely turned against him, Hyle fled with his guardian. She had approached and asked in astonishment, "Why did you let him escape?" Yan replied, "Summoning 2 guardians at once consumes an enormous amount of my energy. I'm only using them now to keep your guardian under control. If I fight in this state, my body will collapse entirely." While he was explaining, the fake Phantom suddenly appeared behind him and released strange streams of energy that formed into a massive stone, sealing the portal that had been swallowing the half-humans. Shet shouted, "Where have you been all this time?" But Yan, his expression grave, said, "That's not Phantom. That's an imposter, and most likely the one who killed him." At that moment, the false Phantom declared that his plan had been completed and that the pagoda tree was now destroyed. However, he explained there was still a way to restore it, just as the ancient legends foretold. He revealed that there were 4 trees, similar to the pagoda tree, and that restoring it would require gathering 3 fragments from the other 3 trees. In other words, it would demand a journey across different streets. Then he said, "My work here is done. Farewell." But Yan stopped him, saying, "Do you think I'll let you leave that easily?" The fake Phantom smirked and replied, "You can't do anything. You're exhausted. You can barely stand." And he was right. Yan's strength gave out, and he collapsed to the ground, unable to move. Fortunately, at that very moment, Shai's guardian regained control of himself and reverted to his original form. He looked at Shai and said softly, "My lady, you look so much like her." She didn't understand whom he was referring to, but she quickly asked him for the elixir of revival. The guardian told her that the elixir required special ingredients, and that he once had a small amount long ago, but he had given it to someone else in the past. Now, he no longer possessed the materials needed to make another. Xian was stunned and quickly apologized to Ling, but he replied calmly, "It's all right. What matters is that the reason the kingdom organization was after us has come to an end. You can now return to the human world." But to his surprise, she refused to leave, declaring that she would correct her mistake and embark on the journey to restore the pagoda tree. The guardian stood in disbelief and said, "I do not understand what is happening, but I will protect you at any cost." As he spoke, a surge of powerful magical energy radiated from him. She then asked his name, to which he replied, "My name is Lin Shi." With the first light of dawn, Yan agreed to accompany Xie on her quest to collect the 3 fragments from the other sacred trees. He decided to leave Ling behind to guard the street. Xie could hardly believe it. She packed her things in an instant, while Wams and Yan donned armor resembling that of ancient warriors, explaining that it would be useful in the other streets, as it granted the power to conceal one's presence, a gift known as the Cloak of Concealment, granted by a guardian to its master. Yan then asked Shai to have her guardian Huizhao's Linshi Hao Duan's forge one for her as well. She immediately complied, and Linshi crafted the most elegant cloak imaginable. Afterward, Yan bid farewell to his brother Ling, handing him the chain, the symbol of leadership, officially appointing him as the new leader of the street and entrusting him with its protection. The 2 brothers vowed to meet again soon, before Yan and Xi set off on their perilous new journey filled with danger and challenge. Meanwhile, Hill was attempting to escape with the monster when suddenly the fake Phantom appeared before him, saying coldly, "Do you really think you can run away that easily? Keep dreaming." Then he removed the mask from his face, revealing a shocking truth. The fake Phantom was none other than Logendo, the fugitive criminal rumored to be the murderer of Yan and Ling's father. Realizing the magnitude of his threat, Hilling immediately activated his fusion, but Logendo summoned his own guardian, a grotesque, massive headless creature, who struck without mercy, annihilating Hill effortlessly. After the battle, Logendo walked toward a desolate place and muttered in a dark tone, "Yan, your sons have not disappointed me. Your boy Yan still holds back much of his true power. When his strength finally awakens, I will do whatever it takes to face him. But this is only the beginning. What comes next will be far worse than anything before." And thus began a new chapter in their story. Yan, who had spent his entire life within that single street, now stepped into a mad and boundless world, filled with beings beyond imagination, warriors, monsters, and powers that defied reason. He once believed that Hill was strong, but what awaited him was something far greater. And here our story comes to an end. If you enjoyed this legendary tale and wish to see more epic anime stories like it, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Until next time, may your days be filled with adventure and light.